Whenever there's an argument between your heart and your mind, follow your heart. There are things that the heart can understand and feel that the mind cannot relate to. There are things that you feel, that you know in your heart of hearts, that's not logical, it's not practical, it's not realistic, but there's something in you that says, I can do this. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. People that are hungry are uncommon people. Hungry have a vision of themselves when they leave here, leaving a legacy and not liabilities.
How do you get to that next level? You must learn to dominate. You cannot compete. Domination, not competition. Anybody can do this, folks. Anybody can do this. This is not about a college degree. This is about massive amounts of action. Whatever you think you're worth, if you're not sure of your own value, your own goals, and what you want, the world will never reward you of what you want, your value, and your goals.
People that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. People that are hungry are relentless. People that are hungry are unstoppable. People that are hungry refuse to give up. I'm willing to make this happen. No excuse is acceptable. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I can do it. If anybody's ever done it at any point in time in history, then what's possible for one is possible for me, and I'm going to do it. It's my time. It's possible. It's necessary. It's me. It's hard. It's worth it. I don't know what you want to do. Seemed like yesterday when I was the new kid on the block. Now at 68, I'm the old timer. My mother, I remember the first home I bought her. This home she saw, she didn't know I had planned to get that home for her. I purchased the home and I said, Mama, I think I know the people who live there. You do? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I'm gonna stop in and say hello. And I drove there and I opened the door. And she got out, and Mama at that time, around 76, she held my arm and we were walking toward the house. And we got to the door. And I couldn't hold it anymore. I reached in my pocket, I took the key out, and I put it in the door. This is your home. Mama, I bought this for you. I pushed the door open. She stuck her head in the door. She said, anybody home? I said, no, Mama. Nobody's here. This is yours. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and your sleep for it. If all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, with the help of God, you'll get it.
Hello, hello, good evening. If you can hear me clearly, good evening. You're welcome to today's FOREX Weekly Outlook with Great White FX. If you can hear me clearly, please type in yes into the chat box. If you can hear me clearly and see my screen, please type in yes into the chat box so that we can start off. Okay. Okay. You're welcome to today's review. Hope you all had a beautiful weekend. Hope you all had a beautiful weekend, and I welcome you all to a beautiful trading week ahead. So as always, we're going to start off by looking at a scheduled fundamental news release for the week ahead, because you need to have an idea so that you know what you're doing. So tomorrow is the 14th. The Bank of Japan bank holiday, card bank holiday. So tomorrow might just be a dull day. Tomorrow going into Wednesday, nothing so serious, but Kani is going to be speaking, is going to be testifying by 9:30 a.m. So that may create some ripples. Okay, looking at the week on Thursday and Wednesday, that's Thursday by 1:30 a.m. as West African time. We have the Aussie, that's the Australian dollar employment change, and basically nothing so major this week. But as always, you're advised to use proper risk and money management to protect yourself from some news events that are most often unannounced. So you just need to be careful. So looking at the dollar index, as always, we start with the dollar index because it gives you a directional bias for the dollar and what to expect for the dollar. Well, it still looks, if you look at it, if you switch to your line chart, you can see that it's still moving up, but it's in a corrective phase now. That's looking at it from the weekly. So if you switch down to your daily time frame, you'll notice it's still slightly in something like this. As you can see, it's at this area. These are spike candles. That's one of my issues with this. I don't know if these candles are going to hold because they are spike candles. They look like spike candles to me. And most often than not, I do not trust spike candles. So let's do this. It's almost the same thing. So we could say that the dollar index is at the lower channel, at the lower end of a rising channel. So now let's go down to our intraday chart, get an idea of what we'll be expecting on the dollar index. So the chart is loaded. Let's give it some time. So if we look at this, let's go back to the daily. And get this properly drawn. So if we go back to the daily, we get rid of this and we use this, we can see where we have the dollar index now. So we drop down to our 4-hour. And when we drop down to our 4-hour, we can see that the dollar index is sitting at this area. So what this means basically is this. Below that area, you have this sort of support here. You have this support structure here. Let me shade this blue. So there exists the potential that we might be seeing a bit of a rally on the dollar index. We might be seeing a bit of a rally on the dollar index into the zone that I'm about to shade out now. So looking at this, we might be looking at the dollar index to rally. But it has some structures that it needs to take care of. So you might see something like this. Rally up into here. If this place holds as resistance, then you may see price come back down. But should this place fail to hold as resistance, then you might see the dollar index test any of these levels, or you may see some. Oh, I didn't lock this down. That's why I moved. So, or you may just see something like this: go back, retest, and drop. Can everybody hear me clearly? Can everybody hear me clearly? So the next pair we're going to look at is gold. So let's look at gold, because there's one thing when you have a new week. Somebody is saying there's a delay. There's a delay where? If there's a delay, you might check your network. If you say there's a delay, you may need to check your network. So if you look at this, it's always advisable if you look at this, if we look at gold from the weekly point of view, we could see something like a kind of a flag. We could see something like a kind of a flag, as you can see. You see something like a kind of flag, looking at the gold, spot gold, and for now, let's look at it from the weekly point of view first. Let's look at it from the weekly point of view. Well. There's something here. There's something here. If you switch to your line chart, you'll see it. There's something here. So that means if gold stays above this level, it might continue higher, because you can see it has bounced off the weekly 13 moving average. You can see it bounce off the weekly 13 moving average. So looking at gold, well, let's look at it from an intraday point of view, because most times if you can't see clearly, I always drop to my 4-hour. From my 4-hour, I can easily pinpoint the buyer. So looking at gold, this is what I have on gold. Gold, basically, there's a trend line here. There's a trend line here. Let me look at this. There's a trend line here. The trend line is running from here all the way up here. Then you drop down to your 4-hour time frame. Then you drop to your 4-hour time frame. We have a bit of a structure here, which price seems to have respected. We have structure here which price respected and spiked up. So we might see a bit of a rally on gold this week. As you can see the formation. All things being equal. All things being equal. So we might see a bit of a rally on gold. So if gold should rally, where would it rally towards? We're looking at this area first. Looking at this area. Looking at this area for a rally on gold. This area. So you might see something like this. If it runs into here and this place holds as resistance, then you may see gold drop. But if this place doesn't hold, that's this zone, that's between 1503.32 to 1494.94. If it fails to hold as resistance, then you might see gold challenge this channel here. You can see this channel here. And if it breaks above it, then we might see a move up on gold towards this level. Okay. That's what we have on gold. So for now, gold is reacting from a support structure, and we might see a bounce. We might just see a bounce to the top side. So that's just it for gold. As you can see, there's already a pin back. But well, we can't see. We can't see. If it goes below this zone, that's this shaded lower zone, if it comes back, you expect something like this. So that's what you need to observe in gold. But for now, this structure is holding, and it may rally up towards here or the top of this channel. So that's it for gold. The next one we're looking at is USD CHF. So looking at the USD CHF, looking at the USD CHF, let me get rid of all this. Look at it from the weekly, as it's always good. Well, we found support of the weekly 55 moving average. It might try to extend higher, but if you look at it from an intraday point of view, it's having obstacles here. But there's a rising trend line still intact. As you can see, this trend line rising is still intact. It's not yet broken to the downside. So since it's not yet broken to the downside, there exists the potential that this pair might still rally up. So you'll be looking at something like this. If this trend line holds, it might still move up. Or from here, it might just run up like that. Because if you look at it to the downside, it has some obstacles to overcome. It has this low, it has this zone, and it has this area too. So that's just it for now. So the best thing is just to wait and see what happens inside this area, this zone here to the top side. So if it breaks it to the top side, fine. As you can see, the area held as resistance and sent price down. But there's this area here, this prior support resistance that is now acting as support. So price needs to clear it to continue to the downside. So the next one we're looking at is Euro USD. So looking at the Euro USD, let's get to an idea of the Euro USD from the weekly point of view. So looking at the Euro USD from the weekly point of view, the candle closed bullish for the week, closed bullish, and this could pass for like a kind of a morning star formation. This could pass for a kind of a morning star formation, which is bullish. But let's see how it looks like. So this is what we have on the Euro USD. So there exists the potential, because this was prior resistance. As you can see, it gave price a bit of a problem, and price broke above. But price has not come back to retest it. So you might see something like this. If this area holds as support, then you might see price head back, or price may just rally up straight into this zone. So that is it for the Euro USD. So the Euro USD, if you ask me from the weekly point of view, is looking slightly bullish. Although now these are the challenges. It's having an issue here. So this place might send it down, just like as I was saying. That's why it's having these issues here. So this place may send it down a bit. If it finds support here, then know that it's still going to move to the top side. So that is it for the Euro USD. The next pair we're going to look at is the Euro GBP. Looking at the Euro GBP broke this rising trend line and dropped massively. It dropped massively. So looking at this intraday, I think I've already done my markup on this pair. So let's go to the daily first, because first things first, you need to find out your potential levels. So if we look at this pair, let me go to the weekly so that I can do this clearly. There are some trend lines here that you need to be aware of and where price is sitting. So if we look at this pair from the weekly, if we look at this pair critically from the weekly, we have this swing low here and we have this swing low here. So if you connect this point to this point, let me connect it properly, you can see where price is. So that shows you where price is at the moment. I know this is a weekly structure. So that's where price bounced. So now, the storyline on this pair is this. There these all the trend lines here. Trend lines are here. So, and I have a little structure here. There's a little structure here. So let me mark this out a bit. Let me mark this out. I have structure here. So now this is the game plan on this pair. This trend line may create a bounce. This trend line here, should price drop like this, you may see a bounce into this area. If it stays below 0.8816 to 0.8788, then you may see price drop back into this area. And that means it still has potential to go back to test the trend line again. But should price break up, should this area fail as resistance, then you may see something like this. And if this zone here fails as resistance, then you may see something like this towards this area, because there is a falling trend line here. There is a falling trend line. So it depends on which of these two areas might likely halt price, because any of them can halt price and send price back down. But as if price stays below 0.8788, it is going back down. So that level will just be like your line in the sand. As long as price stays above it, it has the potential to still try and test this trend line. Or better still, like I always say, all you can just do is just go to, since this is a massive weekly candle, from the top to the bottom, you use your feet and just wait to see what happens. That's also all you need to do. From the top, you pick your fib, and to the loop, you just pinpoint it. Then you wait to see, because there exists a potential that there exists a potential that price may do a bit of a pullback. And if you notice, the 38.2 is at the top of this area, the 50% is in this zone, and the 61.8 is just around the trend line. So if you, those are just the areas if you want to get a good continuation, because when you have a downtrend, what you need to do is you wait for rallies. In a downtrend, you sell any rally, so you sell into strength on a downtrend. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the GBP USD. So looking at the GBP USD from, well, this is the GBP USD, very, very, very bullish. Close pretty bullish off the weekly time frame. Very, very bullish. So there's a potential it might continue to the top side. There is a potential it might continue to the top side. Let's look at it from the intraday point of view. If we switch over to the daily, there's a bit of a structure here, and that's where price ran into. If you look at this, there's a rising channel. You see, there's a kind of a rising channel here on the GBP USD. Then if you drop to the 4-hour, you see where price is at the moment. See where price is at the moment. So the storyline here is, if price stays below 1.2667, it might still come down. So the first level of support is at 1.2574. It might use that to rally back up. But should it break this level of support, then you might see it come down here. So just either of these two. So that's just a possible scenario. Or, like I always say, better still, you pick your fib and fly. So in this case, you'll be looking to buy into weakness. And if you notice, the 38.2 comes in here, the 50% comes in here, and the 61.8 comes in. These are levels you'll be looking for to see buying price action, as to see a bullish price action in the market to tell you that the prior trend from last week is about to continue. And that's also what you need to be aware of. So the next pair we'll be looking at is GBP-CHF. So looking at GBP-CHF from the weekly point of view also, well, this pair might have a bit of a challenge. This is the weekly 55 exponential moving average. It can cause a little bit of a pullback. So, like I always say, we go into our intraday. And if we look at this man too has the same thing. You see this channel, rising channel here. You see a false break to the downside here. Then price rallied. Then let me show you this. You won't see this from, you need to see this from a weekly. If you look at this chart, this spike, now that's where my challenge is. I don't know if this spike will be respected, but if this spike is going to be respected, we have something like this. If this spike here is going to, because you might check another broker and you find out that it's not at the same level. So that's where I have a bit of a challenge. So if it holds, then if it plays out, if the market respects it, then you might see a bit of a pullback on price. You might see a bit of a pullback. If this area acts as resistance, maybe price may go back to test it the second time. If it acts, then I might see price come back. But should price break it to the top side, then you might see a move higher on price. And until that happens, then we might start to figure out its next level from these swing highs to the left hand side. So for now, this is a possible scenario. Still bullish, but there is a possibility it may drop a bit before moving back up. So you need to be aware of that. So the next one we're looking at is the USD JPY. So it closed very bullish off the weekly. I'm not spotting any, although there's a trend line. Here. There are two trend lines. It's picked up on the daily, on the intraday chart. Because what I do is from the daily time, from the weekly down to the daily, I know the levels, then drop to the 4-hour time frame as a midpoint time frame to trade those values up. So looking at the USD JPY, let's look at it from the 4-hour time frame. My chart is still loading. So looking at this pair, we can see now that price is first touch, second touch, and it's there at the third time. So now, if this area holds price, if it serves as resistance, then you might see price drop down to this area. If this area holds as support, you might see price. Or price may rally, then you wait for it to test this lower level. And that lower level is, let me see. That lower level is, I think it's 108.42. Let me see. Yes, 108.47. This is 108.47. Because if it breaks it, it needs to retest it to confirm it as support. Then it might move high. So these are just the possible scenarios you might see on this pair. So you just need to be aware of that. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the Euro yen. Can we all still hear me? Can you all still hear me clearly? Hello? Can you all still hear me clearly? Hello? Hello, if you can still hear me clearly and see my chat, please type in yes. Hello? Sorry about that, my network is connected. If you can hear me clearly, please type in yes. Sorry, network is breaking. That's just what we have here. If you can hear me clearly and see my screen, please type in yes so that I can continue before the network cuts off again. Okay, so looking at the next pair we're going to look at now is the Euro. Now, there's something with this pair. There's something with this pair. And I've always noticed that there's something with this pair. If you notice, you'd hear me sometimes talk about the W formation. It's already forming here. Now, the storyline on this pair is this. This is the apex. Or some people will call it the nadir. If it takes out this level, the euro yen is going to move very far if this level is sticking out this week. So let's go and look at it. So for now, price is having a bit of an obstacle here. And that level I'm talking about, it is here. If you notice, I marked it out here. This is the weekly apex. This is the zone. And now price is having a bit of a challenge there. There's one thing I've noticed. Whenever this apex is broken, all these zones will not matter. Most often than not, all these zones will not matter. So now this is the storyline here. This pair is still critically bullish. If you look at it, it's critically bullish. So like I would advise, what you just do is you pick your fib from last week's low to last week's high, as Friday's high. You place your fib there and wait and see. That's just what you need to do. And if you play it out on this chart, let's say we assume we start from here and we'll take the highs here. You can see where the 38.2 is. 38.2 is here, the 50% is here, and the 61.8 is here. So now, how do we play this? This is a bullish scenario. In a bullish scenario, you're going to be looking to buy weakness. So if this pair comes into this zone and this zone acts as support, it might move higher. But should it drop lower into any of these zones, you'll be waiting for bullish evidence to continue with the prior trend. But you just need to be careful. You need to be sure that the scenario is purely bullish before you join the trend up. But for now, from the weekly, still bullish, as you can see. This is a candle pattern. With a candle pattern, this is called, I can't remember the name. Is it three crows? I can't remember the name, but whenever you see this pattern and then there's a bullish candle, you're going to see two more bullish candles. So you just need to be careful with this pattern. So the next pair we're going to look at is the pound yen. So looking at the pound, the same thing. You see those three candles? See this bullish? Like an N formation. Do you see it? Let's go to the line chart. Do you see it? Like an N formation. So this portends possible higher move to the top side. So if we look at the pound yen, the intraday chart, he's in a resistance structure. So now the scenario with this guy is this. The scenario with this guy is this. For him to continue the move to the top side, he needs to stay below 1.3667. He needs to stay above it. So you need to see this happen for him to continue to the top side. But should he break below this level and this level acts as resistance, expect him to drop lower. So his first level of support will be coming in at 135.51. Then you have the 38.2 here. Then you have the 50% in this zone that are marked out. But be careful, this is a bullish trend. You'll be looking to buy weakness. And if you notice, there's a structure here that it broke. So it may pull down to test that level. And that level is coming at 135.63. 135.63 is somewhere here. So we just need to be aware of that. So the next pair we're going to be looking at is the AUD USD. So let's look at the AUD USD from the weekly. Oh, weeks to the downside. This pair is preparing to move higher. Last week, bullish candle. Yes, it's going to. He may. Let me not be so certain, because if you look at this formation now, this was a very, very long wick hammer. And if you understand candle patterns, before you take a hammer formation, you need a second confirmatory candle. And this second confirmatory candle has to close above the high of the hammer. And as you can see, that has happened. So that might mean we might be saying, so let's look at this. Let me use the fib, as I always use the fib. So let's see what happened here. Where the price dropped to 61.8. Just need to pull back to 61.8 and took up. So now the same scenario, you can use the same thing for this week's candle here. so that even if it gives you a bearish scenario, you know where you're going to be taking the bearish scenario from. You do not want to be caught on the wrong side of the market. You do not want to be caught. So looking at this, the low is coming in at 0.6710. 0.6710 is coming in somewhere here. So the same thing too, you can pick the fib from here and place it here. And it's just that simple. Once you do that, you start watching to see, because it has a bullish formation of the weekly. You'll be looking to buy into weakness. It may continue to the top side. Nothing stops it from taking off to the top side. And if it should take off to the top side, it is going to be running into structure between here and somewhere here. It's going to be running into structure here. So you just need to know, watch it carefully. Doesn't mean if you see a short signal, you can't take it. But one thing with counter trend signals is that you should use reduced lot size, so that if it goes bad, it will not be it will not be so heavy an impact. So that when the original move, that's the major trend move starts, you can join them and continue to the top side. So the next one we're going to be looking at is Euro AUD. So let's look at the Euro AUD from the weekly point of view. Well, wicks to the top side. Well, one thing with wicks to the top side is this. You need to see a close below the low of the candle with the wick. Now, if this can be an inverted hammer or a shooting star. So you need to see a close, and knowing this pair and his magic, this pair can still power to the top side. So now there's this channel here. So the only thing that will certify this weakness is something like this. If not this pair, you see this level is holding, it has the potential to still run up here to test it. As you can see, first test, second test, it dropped. So it might just continue to range. If this area holds, you might just see a continued range on this pair. But meanwhile, be well aware that there is a major trend line on this pair running from there. So you just need to be aware of that. So the pair might just run into it and drop to the downside. So you need to be aware of that on this pair. You just need to be aware of that. Now this trend line is somewhere here. So that's it for the Euro AUD. The next pair we're going to final pair is the USD CAD. So looking at the USD CAD, this area, you see there's a trend line here. There's a trend line here connecting this loop to this loop. Price broke it. Then there's another major trend line. There are two major trend lines, in fact, on this pair. Two major trend lines, in fact, on this pair. So you have this one here. Let me get the point well. Get the point well here. Get the point well here. So you see this trend line here, it's still here. This one has been broken. Then there's another one, but that is not my concern for now. This is scenario here. If this price stays below 1.3213, 1.3213, you might see it drop a little bit lower. But should it go back above this level, then you might see it do this. And like I've always said, when you go to the weekly, you get an idea of how the weekly candle closed. And if you see it, this is very, very bearish. So what you do is, in this scenario, it may continue downstream. It may continue downstream. But what you do is, from the high to the low, since this is a downtrend, you'll be looking to sell into any strength. So in this scenario, should it correct and start to drop, you'll be looking to take short positions. So what you do is you pick the top and you place the flip. And if you notice, the 61.8 is going to be here. This is where the 61.8 is. So most likely this will be a magnet for price to come up to. So that settles it for today's currency outlook. I thank you all for taking your time to attend. The video will be posted to the YouTube channel, and the charts will be uploaded to Facebook and the Instagram channel. The YouTube channel is Plan Your Trade, Trade Your Plan. The Instagram handle, the Instagram page is Great White FX, and the Facebook page is also Great White FX. So thank you all for taking your time to attend. I wish you all a beautiful night's sleep, a beautiful trading week ahead, and a prosperous week. So thank you all. Good night.